Hello everybody and welcome to the Coach Oak Show on Coach Oak TV. You are here with Coach Oak himself. This time it's TCG. Let's try something a little different here. I want to go through the Rebel Clash English set list. Rebel Clash, technically the pre-release boxes, there are no actual pre-releases right now because of malware, but pre-release boxes come out technically tomorrow. But people have definitely broken street. We have a full set list. We have, their cards out in the wild. A few groups have already been selling them, things like that. So the actual set is still coming out. We may not get anything of a Ultra Prism to Rebel Clash format, and after this set there should be a rotation, so it'll be interesting to see what goes on. But we're just going to do a quick little analysis of cards. I don't want this to be one of those like 4-hour set reviews. I want this to be much quicker. So I'll quickly look at each card, but I'm not going to like go in depth on I'm not going to go PTCGO level on each card. If you want that, go over there. Thanks to PokeBeach for putting this list together. Check the site daily, please, if you don't already have it as part of your routine. I don't know why you wouldn't if you are a TCG fan. If you're one of my Draft League people just jumping in, you get to hear how I analyze this. As I said, about the pre-releases, the boxes themselves, I'll just touch quickly on this. These are the promos: Flapple, Luxray, Colossal, Garbodor. Garbodar's the most playable one, although the art on it isn't. So I'm probably not actually getting any boxes, even though I like the Colossal art. I don't think it's playable, but it's awkward. I'll talk more about it in a second. Flapple again, could be fun, awkward. Luxray could be good, but I think it's the least playable of them. I don't see it really seeing play, especially if we do get a rotation. A little preemptive, just because it will lose the Shinx that has evolutionary advantage. So going through quickly first, Caterpie and Metapod both have similar abilities. Very good. It can evolve on first turn or the turn you play it. I don't think this Butterfree, like Poison, Burn, Confuse turn 1 is great, but not worth, like, let's say he's just 6 spots in search. I just don't think it's worth. But there is one a couple sets back that is search 3 different types of basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon any way you want. That one could see play with like Mewtwo. I don't think it will be very meta. I think it will be more rogue, but there is potential. It's just a lot of bench spaces for the acceleration. But turn 1, that is good turn 1 acceleration on a 1 prizer. So who knows? If I'm not mistaken, that one's on a colorless energy, not a grass, so you could play it with pretty well anything. Scyther, I love the art, but not that good. Heracross, one of the weaker Heracrosses we've had. Pushdown is interesting, but I don't think it's that good. Not consistent enough, really, although I do like Heracross. Shuckle is interesting. Shuffle 5 basic energy cards from discard pile into your deck, but you're just better off playing Energy Recycler, which is currently still in format. Now, if it does rotate out without reprint, which it's seeming it will, maybe there's a reason to play Shuckle, but using that turn to recovering energy feels pretty bad. Maybe a Rillaboom deck. That's about it. Lotad doesn't do anything itself. Lombre has top entry, which is interesting. So top entry, there's a few with this ability. If you draw a card from your deck at the beginning of your turn, and there's room on your bench, instead of putting it in your hand, you may put it directly on your bench. So as you're top decking for turn, and you're drawing for turn, you get it, and if you have the bench space, it goes right down on the bench. So you don't even need to play the Lotad, so you can't start with it, which is very, very interesting. Now, to get this consistently, you probably need a Rangaroo, the one with Primate Wisdom, to swap card in hand with the top card of the deck, put it on top. It could be interesting, but obviously we need something to attack into. Furious Whip, isn't it? Ludicolo 60 times on a Twin Energy, essentially. We'll talk about Twin Energy later, but it's 2 colorless for any non-V, non-GX Pokemon. So 60 times for each prize card you've taken for a Twin Energy is good. If you have the right deck, this could be very good. Putting that in, but it has to be a deck that probably already wants to use Twin Energy, has bench space, and has room for Rangaroo. I don't think that's too many decks. I think it could be good. I'm tempted to stick, 1/1 line in, like, say, right now, like I was playing Macargo, stick a 1/1 line in a Macargo deck. Very interesting. But then you also have needed Twin Energy. right? It's not really worth. Although you can play it with Welder, so maybe in a fire deck, I could see it, something like that. It could fit in there as a little tech, because that is good game finishing, right? They've taken 3 prizes, even that's, you're doing 180. Or you've taken 3 prizes, right? So you can definitely finish cards with this, especially if something comes wrong that we want to hit for grass weakness. Definitely could be good. It's very interesting. It's one of the more interesting cards, I think, because it's hard to see. Search Skid doesn't do anything itself. Opponent can't attach energy from their hand to the defending Pokemon during their next turn. No. Sorry, not really. Not on a stage 1. Too many ways around it. Snover, nothing itself. Abomasnow, no. Phantom, Dark Guidance is interesting, but not worth playing. And it's not as good as Ascension in Expanded. Yeah, no for the Trevenant. That's a no for me, dog. Grubbin evolves. We'll get to that later. Rillaboom V. This card is already out from tins. Force Feast, search your deck for up to 2 basic grass, put them on your bench, is solid for setting up if you have to. You don't want to use it, but it's nice if you have to. 220, also does 30 to itself, is good. 4 energy is awkward. Rillaboom decks really want to attack for 3, but it is very good. It's 220, right? It's something that knocks out itself, which is both good and both interesting at times, as, you know, Mimikyu's, copycatting, etc., etc. Can come back to bite you, but it's interesting. Now it's a V, so hopefully it has a V max. Oh look, yes it does. 130 plus. You can discard up to 3 grass energy. Does 50 more for each you discard in this way. So for 4 energy potentially, you can discard a 3 and hit up to 270. You do cap it to 270 though, which still seems weird. That is still one of the key numbers. As it goes through the life cycle of the card, it's going to become a very less key number. So right now, potentially could be good. As the life cycle of the card goes on, it's not, as we switch into the VMAX era. 270 is still 10 short of ADP, which isn't great, and some of the other bulky, anything playing Big Charm in the tag team deck right now. So, while it's good, and I'll probably get some to play, because I think the Rillaboom decks are fun, I don't think it's ever going to be top tier. Eldegoss V, once you're turn, you may play this card from your hand onto your bench. You may put a support card from the discard pile into your hand, and then has a soar upward for 2 colorless. So it's supposed to be kind of the next in the Lele Dedenne Shaman line. It's not quite as good, but I don't think that's a bad thing, because it won't be as expensive and as kind of meta-defining. Right, one of the barriers to entry sometimes is those big cards, those big consistency cards. This one is good. It'll probably be a one-of in most decks that play it. And I mean, it's a Versa Seeker ability, right? So it's good. It is very good. Now we do have 2 other, one already in plan. I think one is this set, if I'm not mistaken, that we'll talk about later in Chat Talk. But there's 2 other kind of weaker ways on 1 prizers that, if the right condition is there, could be a better version of this ability. So there's that. Depending on what deck too, you have other options for this, where like Lele, for example, you didn't really have any other options that were basics. Like, these are both basic options. The only other option really was around during Lele's time was the Dragonite, which was a stage 2. So, you know, there's a difference there. A couple Applins is what it is. We have a Flapple and an Appleton. So two Applins is good. We already we looked briefly at the Flapple. 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, then shuffle it into your deck. It's a card that's kind of interesting because it could just be used for 2 extra damage counters at some point in the game, and you don't really worry about it. Interesting. You could also build a kind of drop mechanic around it, right? Now, also on a coin flip, discard an energy, so you could add in some energy denial into drop, so it could be its own deck. It could be a little bit of tech. I don't know if it's strong enough when you have to keep searching it out, but it has, it's fairly easy to search out Applin. It's searching out Flapple is okay. We have ways to do it. Chaining that over and over could be interesting, but like if you get a Grovyle, for example, which I believe will rotate in the next one. And obviously, rotation hasn't been announced, and it could change this year. But like the Grovyle that has just search for a grass Pokemon every turn. Plus you have Turffield Stadium, so there is definitely ways you could chain this, and it'll be interesting one to make some decks with. I'm not. It's also not really my play style, so I think that's why I'm a little not as bullish on it as I would be. But it definitely is an interesting card and definitely could be very good. I know we have a local player who definitely plays this play style, and I think there's something else on the side he'll want to play more, but I can definitely see him messing around with this. We do still have the fairy type Tapu Lele that moves around damage counters as well. So there is that. Now this you get to target, so I don't know how needed it is, but maybe like a Roxy deck with the Weezing plus this built in, plus the Tapu Lele plus with like Doll Stall in the active could be interesting. It'll be interesting. So that is the Flapple. The Applin is also interesting. Ability is once you're in turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, choose one of your opponent's benched basic Pokemon and switch it with their active Pokemon. So it's on a coin flip and it's only basics, but it's free Gust. I don't think it will be good, but it's always something to consider, right? It is a bring up an Dedenne into the active for game. It is it is all those things. If it would have been around before we got the boss's orders, which is coming in the set, which we'll talk about later, but it is Lysander reprint of Free Gust. I think it would have more of a chance. It's just the meta is still very, very basic heavy. I think as the VMAXs get bigger, we'll have less so. But I mean, it will have Dedenne for a long time to feed off of. It will have Eldegoss. So it will definitely have things to Gust. I don't see it seeing much play, but it's always something to keep in mind. Vulpix is adorable, and that's about it, but I just felt the need to. That is adorable little artwork. Whoever drew that, props to you. Not that you're watching. Ninetales, if their opponent's active has an ability, it does 90 more damage. So it's 120 for 1 energy on a stage 1 against anything with an ability. In the right mana, could be good. Against Zacians, it is very good. Zacian is the best card in format. So it's interesting. I don't know whether it's a tech in a line that wants to play the Gusting Ninetales. I don't know if it's a like you thicken up that line a little bit. I don't know if it's a not played at all. I don't know if it's something you can build in. I mean, 90 plus sleep is something. I don't think it's good, but it's payable. So it's interesting. Like, it is very efficient attacking against certain things. And then because it hits for weakness against Zacian, it is very tempting. It is very tempting. Whether it's a Rainbow Energy deck, maybe, anything like that. Or I said any fire type deck that's already playing the Gusting Ninetales or wants to play the Gusting Ninetales, it's very, very tempting. This Vulpix is probably not better than the other ones in format going back. It's got Confusion, which is decent. But the one that just does 20 damage is probably better. Tail Whip's probably too situational, although I'm always tempted to play the Tail Whip one. And so it is. We have another Ninetales, this time in V form. 4 energy, 180 discard energy from this Pokemon in a pinch. 9-tailed transformation. Choose one of your active Pokemon's attacks and use it as his attack. Very, very interesting. Firebox decks, and I think this becomes another tool you got. Maybe even a 2 of. It's a welder, very welder friendly card, right? 3 energy. It is very reactive to meta. It's Zacian for weakness. So it will definitely have a place. Whether it ever becomes a top card will be interesting, but I think it's very, very good in particular decks as a 1 of tech in a lot of fire decks, or as kind of 1 or 2 of in the firebox, kind of, you know, the decks that want to play all the different welder and friends. Growlithe is a Growlithe, pretty cute. Arcanine is interesting. So the ability is, if it has a Burning Scarf, it gets plus 100 HP. Burning Scarf, if it gets attacked, Pokemon wearing Burning Scarf is attacked, it gets burned. And then you have Welder and Attach, 130, on potentially a 230 HP Pokemon. One prize Pokemon. So you're theoretically 2-hit KOing. The problem I see with this is even at the 230, which you have to find, right, is the stage 1 plus Tool, which is doable but not the easiest thing to chain. At 230, you're kind of in that range of like the Zacians of the world, right? The basic Vs, that the numbers that people are going to be trying to hit, especially as the life cycle goes on. If you live, great, but you're 2-hit KOing most things. I mean, against a lot of one-prize decks, you'll still be OKOing, especially when you get the extra little bit from Burn, right? If they hit into you, it's just going to be 20 from Burn, plus potentially if you Well of Volcano or Infernape, all those kind of things. The burn tricks we have, which we have some, they're not the best things ever, but we have some. I don't think it's going to be that good, but it's super interesting and definitely fun. Definitely something I'll want to try out, but I don't think it's something I'd ever really put my faith behind, just because even at the boosted numbers, it's right in, like, it kind of needs to live a hit, and it's in that range of key numbers people are trying to hit. So, yeah. Magmar exists. Magmortar is interesting. I think it's too awkward, but it could be a nice budget option. Ground Burn 80 plus. So, 80 damage, each player discards the top card of their deck. Attack does 100 more damage for each energy card discarded this way. So, you can do up to 280 damage, which is ADP, but it takes effort. It is also a mill 1 on your opponent. It is a mill 1 on you. We definitely have ways to get on both sides the attack on top, but a stage 1 plus everything else that you would need to set this up, plus you need the Welder and Attach to chain. It's a lot. It's one of those high power, high risk, high reward cards. I don't personally think for me, but it's definitely tempting and interesting. Even if you just run it as if it's like Torkoal V, you can do the same amount of damage as Torkoal V's first attack, just by doing your own top deck. Plus, you could hit an energy off their top deck. Plus, you are milling them 1. So it's probably better than Torkoal V, even though it's a stage 1 in my opinion. Even though I think Torkoal V is better for the second attack, but that second attack is just awkward. We have a Lampet with top entry now, so another way to cheat in Chandelures. Probably the best one is the Spirit Burner Chandelure, which can be very annoying to face. The new one here, usually your Pokemon that has any energy attached to it, any energy, doesn't have to be fire, attached to it has no weakness, so it's a very interesting way to take a weakness. Yeah, so if you are if there's a strong deck that's going to get destroyed by things that hit with weakness, and you can fit an Oranguru, put your Lampet on top, and the Chandelure, could definitely have potential. Right now, the biggest thing would be Guardian, maybe, that would want to use this, but I don't know if it fits in Guardian, especially because Guardian kind of wanted to be a Greens engine, and this is not a Greens engine, especially because you need the Guru. So it's kind of interesting because, like, you don't need the Guru. I mean, you could just Macargo it on top for next turn. Like, there's stuff you can do, but I think it's a little too awkward. But definitely also another one of those cards to always keep in mind. It's another tool in the toolkit, so to speak. Heatmore, no. I mean, it's decent Nuzzle that does 20. So the next set, we get new ways to reflip coins. But I'm not a huge fan. But it is a colorless, maybe it's just an emergency. It's there. Field Runner is a great ability on Cinderace V. Stadium card in play, has no retreat cost. 3 energy 140 is solid. I mean, it's a very solid Pokemon, but it's not one that's going to stand out as it is. Cinderace V Max is very interesting. So 3 energy 170 now burned, so really 190 plus whatever for burn. So you can get hitting some decent numbers. You need to add probably an Infernape to get the Okos you want. Maybe a Well of Volcano in a couple turns. You can take out some basic Vs. but not really the most reliable second attack, especially when you're considering the V just does 140. Um, Counter is interesting. So it does additional damage, 30 damage plus additional for the amount of damage done to this Pokemon by your attacks from your opponent during your opponent's last turn. So they hit you, you can even heal it off because it's what was done to you. And then you hit back with what damage they do. This is a card I definitely could see being bugged on PTCGO, which will be interesting to see. Hopefully they get that coded in right from the start, because it will be pretty popular. I mean, it's a very payable retreat cost. Even if it's just kind of a 1/1 line attack, right? Because the Cinderace V has free retreat, essentially. There's stadiums to play most of the time, and is solid in its own right. But as 1/1 attack and something playing fire, as a meat shield, like it is a very good meat shield because it's a meat shield that hits back, right? 320 is still nothing to scoff at. It's a very interesting card. You can definitely build decks around it, or it could be a meat shield tech. I don't know if it's going to be top tier or not. Hitting weakness on Zacian means it could be, but I think it's slightly too awkward. Just because you're going to need to be doing healing, which Malolana, which is supporter for turn, is the best. We do have other options, but it's like Hyper Potion could be interesting here. Discard the 2, Welder back on the 2, but again, it's 2. It's hard to chain Welders that much. So it's interesting. I don't think it's for me, but I will definitely make an impact on the meta in some way, shape, or form. Just how big is the question. Mr. Mime evolves into Mr. Rhyme. As long as this Pokemon display prevent effects of opponent's attacks done to all your Pokemon with energy attached to them, does not remove existing effects. So it removes the effects done onto you, not the effects they have. Something like, as I understand it, and this may be wrong, correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong, but something like Obstagoon would not be protected against, because Obstagoon is doing something to itself. So it's a very meta thing. Right now, I don't see where it fits, and that might just be me missing something. But I think it's another one. Add to the toolkit. Make sure it's in your binder. You never know when it could suddenly become very important in the meta. Doing effects to you could become one of the biggest things, and we'll have to see. And it's only their attacks of note as well. Magikarp is here. 200 discard Stadium, but for 5 energy, no. 90, no. You're pretty Gyarados, but no. Wingull, no. Pelipper, no. Milotic V is also very interesting. 4 energy, 50 damage plus a sleep. It's okay in a pinch, but not really what we want. 3 energy, water 2 colorless, so you could use metal if you wanted to fit it into an AP type thing. This attack does 50 more damage, so 10 plus. 50 more damage for each colorless in the opponent's active opponent's retreat cost. This is now besides the crocodile that is 60 times for the retreat cost, this is probably the biggest, baddest boosting. Tangrowth, and there's a Propass in the set with the same thing as Tangrowth, are both solid. This is greedier, but potentially higher reward. It is a 210 basic, right? It is 3 energy, which is its own challenges, right? But it is 50 scale. So 50 scale is a lot when it comes to retreat costs. Say you're facing something with 2. 2 is kind of the average right now. Immediately you're doing 110. But we can definitely add to that between Absol and Galar Mine, which we'll talk about later. But it adds 2 to both Pokemon's retreat costs. So it's very doable to scale this a lot. With the 4 Absol, right? Let's just say you got 3 Absol. Let's say 3. It's something with 2, right? We're now at 5. That's 260. So it's hitting some big numbers fairly easily, but it does take a lot of investment to get there. It definitely could be very good. It's definitely very tempting, and it's definitely something I'm playing around with. I tend to lean a little more right now towards Probopass or Tangrowth. Personally, right now, I think still Tangrowth for me. Um, Even though it's only 30 scale, it's only one prize. It is a stage one, which again is not as good, but it's a little more efficient in terms of the deck. I think. Where this you have some, like, you could play with Frostmoth, you could play with ADP. As a one of tech in like an ADP Zacian, I'm totally down for that. But it's one of those that's kind of a little bit awkward. But it will definitely make an impact on the meta. Again, just we'll have to wait and see how much. Dimple, Palpitoad, no. Seismitoad, no. Yeah, not much to say there. Darmako, Navals, Galarian Darmanitan can hit decent damage. 4 energy, 170 on a one prize or stage 1 is solid. But I don't think it's enough for me personally. 80 plus 10 spread. 10 spread is nice little bonus, but I don't think it's enough personally. Inteleon V has definitely seen some hype. Does 4 damage to one of your opponent's bonus basics with a little extra spread could be good, but it's not, it's okay. It's a good starting thing, soften things up, but it's not fabulous. 130 reveals their hand. The reveals their hand doesn't really help because they then play, so you can't react to what's there. VMAX, so 6 damage, return an energy from the active Pokemon to hand. Returning to hand, I mean, it's not attached. It depends what their energy acceleration method is, whether that's really good or not. Grimble, 160 plus 60 to one on the bench. The additional 60 to the bench is lovely. It's definitely a really good secondary effect. You're only hitting 160, so you're looking to 2-hit KO and spread. That's what you're looking to do with these two. I definitely think it has viability. I definitely think it will make an impact again. For me, I don't know if it's doing enough, but there's definitely, it has options, right? It has Frostmoth in format, it has Quagsire in format, it has like the Roxy you could do to up the chip. It has lots of options. I'm not 1,000% on it in either way. It's kind of an in between energy denial and spread. It's kind of an in between. I think I'd rather lean into one or the other myself, but definitely good players will use this very well. I don't think it's one for not top players, and maybe that's why I'm leaning against it, but I think good players will use it very well. Crimorant, 50 plus 20 Hydro Pump is solid for basic. It's 10 less than Quagsire, but it's not really hitting the numbers you want. 20 plus flip coin of heads prevent all damage could be interesting. It's 20 agility rather than 10 agility, which I think is the best agility we have in format on a basic right now, which is Sneasel. So there's always stuff you could do there with Will, and when we get Glimwood Forest? I think that's the name. Let you reflip. Definitely options. Definitely things it could do, but who knows? Aracuda, no. Barraskewda is interesting. Screwjet, 130, discard 2 water energy from your hand, or this attack does nothing. We definitely have ways to get the energy into hand. 130 is very efficient. Like I said about Ninetales, I think if it's hitting for weakness in a format, it could be very good. Like, it's a very efficient attacker, but it's a bit awkward. I don't think it's something that we'll see much play, but it's definitely something that could be efficient as a budget deck, something like that. Maybe if you want to play it with like Shedinja to reduce prizes, it's just efficient attacker while doing Shedinja stuff. So I could see that. But I don't know. Ice Phase, if its HP is max, anything is reduced by 60. So if it's at max HP, it's essentially a 180 HP one prize basic, which is very good. And it's a little bit above the key numbers right now. 180 isn't really a key number as much as it was at one point. Kind of 160 and then jump to like 210, 220 are kind of the big numbers. Blizzard, a 70 plus 10 spread is... If the spread was 20, I'd like that a lot better. I don't think it's quite enough spread or quite enough damage to the active or quite bulky enough. It kind of does a lot of things half well instead of doing something really well. So I'm not big on it. ISQV, Cold Absorbent. Whenever you attach a water energy from your hand to this Pokemon during your turn, heal 30. So you kind of have infinite heal. Now it's only on 210. Blizzard 120 plus 10 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So again, we've got 10 snipe to the bench. If it was 20, I think I'd like it a lot better. Especially because Mew is still in form to shut all that down. I don't think so for me, but it's definitely interesting. And I mean, Jim V that got over here fairly quickly is good. Caracosta GX knows the pain of waiting. Voltorb continuous tumble, I guess. Why not? And this colorless too, right? Yeah, colorless continuous tumble. Orb collection. Sorry. Search your deck for up to 3 energy cards, reveal them, put them in the hand. Not for me. It's interesting. It is a colorless, so it could be in anything. But no, not really for me. Electiva's Electro Slug. I like that name. Slug them electrically. Electivire, 50 flip coin, paralyzed. It's too awkward. Even though 50 nuzzle is good. Power Volt, 90 damage if this Pokemon has special energy. So it's like the Necrozma, does 180, so a little bit more than a Necrozma. Stage 1 though, no, sorry. Can do 60 damage if opponent has 3 price cards remaining on a Shinx. It's decent on a basic attacker, but I don't think it's worth anything. Another top entry for Luxio, so we have top entry into the Luxray. So it does 6 damage. If it evolved from Luxio this turn, attack does 100 more damage. Dual ways to chain it. 160 for cheated evolution stage 3. Stage 3. Oh, no, not stage 3, please. Stage 2. Not for me. It definitely is an efficient attacker. But any of these evolving efficient attackers, it's an efficient attacker, but it's still not always the most efficient to build the deck. And it's not necessarily hitting the big numbers that you need. So you're going to have to chain, and that can be a lot, right? We know that. That's just how it is. Helioptile evolves into Heliolisk, which it has flip a coin, discard energy. So it's discard, not into hand, which is good, but no. No, just not for me. Charger Bug is not better than the other Charger Bug, and that's all we need to know right now. It does accelerate to itself, but it accelerates to itself when it's a 90 HP. Vigavolt is definitely interesting. Powerful Storm, Lightning, 2 colorless, 60 plus damage, 20 more damage for the amount of energy attached to all your Pokemon. So it's really good scale, and it's not any kind of energy, so you can use Twin Energy, etc. You have the good Charger Bug to attach, so it can hit big numbers, but it's a stage 2. You have to chain, keep lots of energy on the field. It definitely could make a dent in the format, but I think it's a high skill deck. So for me, I think I'm avoiding it, but definitely for some people, it will definitely be fun. It can hit those big numbers and claim some big knockouts as a one prizer, so it's always something to take a look at. It reminds me a little bit of Baby Blacephalon when it was coming out, that I just thought was a little too awkward to keep going. Now, Baby Blacephalon, obviously, is a very different kind of chaining to keep going. As the basic, and it's seen a lot of success, and I was wrong there, so I might be wrong here, but I don't think for me, even though it's always very tempting. Bolt on V, Electrify, search your deck for up to 2 lightning cards, lightning energy, and attach them to your bench Pokemon any way you like. Then shuffle your deck. Lightning Storm 10 plus does 30 more damage for each lightning attached to your Pokemon in play. Decent energy acceleration on a basic. Attach to your bench in any way you like, so you can't attach to itself, which is fine though, because the next one's only 2. 10 plus 30, so 30 scale for each lightning in play. It definitely has potential. I'm not excited by it but I know in my head that it could be good. I know I've seen stuff out in Japan with speed decks, making it potentially quite good. I've seen it as, a tech card in some other decks as well. As a tech, I think I like it. As more than that, I don't know if I'm into it. But it's definitely interesting. And definitely we'll see some play. How much play? To be determined. Toxel is cute, and that's about it. It is 10 damage nuzzle. Poison Shout. So it does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So it's 20 spread to everything, including the active. Opponent's active is now poisoned. So we do have electric power and stuff. So it is 20 to the active plus whatever. 20 spread to everything. And poison the active. Definitely could be interesting. We do have ways to increase the poison. If it was a basic, oh yes, I'm all over it. As a stage 1, I'm interested. Putting in with doing spread while, keeping the active poisons, potentially having damage modifiers on the active. All that stuff is very interesting. We do definitely have things that could be background attackers for this as well, to do the final pickoffs of the active while you're doing spread, like Zapdos, things like that. I don't think it will ever become meta, especially with Mew existing. As if it ever becomes meta, Mew comes in and just shuts it down. But like Toxicroak with Toxtricity could be interesting. The Toxicroak that increases the poison damage. It's definitely interesting. I definitely have already made a couple lists with it to look at. How good it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be fun. Toxtricity V, 20 plus poison as the basic is not terrible. This is better than the other Toxtricity V. Electro 90 plus 90 if poisoned. Garbodor can just poison the active as stage 1. That is this deck's best friend. But it's really Toxtricity V max decks. 160 plus 80 if poisoned. Obviously, if you can get the knockout with this, you take it with this. If not, you go here. Almost potentially you're getting knocked out. It is hard to chain. So if they go down, you're in trouble. So it does a lot of damage, right? 240 plus poison, right? That's at least 250. You could boost the poison. You have tricks for poison. You have etc. 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 Garbodor can just poison the active with the stadium in play, which there almost always is. It definitely has a lot of potential. I think it's going to be a little hard to chain, so I'm not personally super excited, but I think it's definitely good. If that makes sense. Like, I know it's good. It's not something for me, but it's definitely good. Pinchurchin V, if your ability is, if this Pokemon is active and damaged by an opponent's attack, flip 3 coins. For each heads, put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. That's good as a wall, I guess, but it's a 2 prize 170 wall, so no thanks. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Morpeko Torment, choose one of your opponent's active opponent's stats. Can't use that next turn. For 1 colorless, could be an interesting tech for Torment. 20 damage Torment is good. If there's a quad deck that only has 1 attack type thing, certain situations you can get it out. Like if Zacian ever becomes a quad deck, you can just come in and say no Brave Blade for you, and make them run out their switching cards. Will it ever see a meta where it can be good? Probably not. Spark also does 50 plus 20 to the bench. No. I think the Torment's the best thing about it, especially since it's colorless on a basic. Will it ever really see play? I'm guessing no, but it could. Again, tool in the toolkit. Fairy evolves. Clefable. Once during your turn, when you play it from your hand to evolve, you can choose an energy attached to your opponent's active return to the top of their deck. So not to hand, not discarded, top of deck. So you're fixing their top deck with an energy for next turn, but you're also getting an energy off their field. So it definitely is very interesting. Looping it could be good. Unless I drop my mouse, apologies if you heard that sound. It's interesting. It could be good. I don't know if it's quite strong enough. If it was discard, I'd be much more excited by Clefable Loops, but it's definitely a powerful effect. Again, it's one of those that depends on the energy acceleration that the opponent has. Natu evolves into Xatu, which move an energy from opponent's bench to active. Okay, why? It's okay, but on the stage 1, not really. 10 plus 30 for each energy attached to the opponent's active. Okay, I get why, but no, not on a stage 1. If it was on a basic, I'd be very interested. On a stage 1, I'm not interested. Corsola does 3 damage counters, drops 3 pistachios. I like that one, Poke Beach. I like it. I don't like the artwork on this card. I think it's a little ugly. But Galarian Corsola is the thing of my nightmares for about this next format. Especially since there's someone local who will love this, and it scares me. So the ability is, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out by damage from the opponent's attack, flip a coin. If heads, the attacking Pokemon is knocked out. Now, you can't use Will on this. You can't use Glimwood Forest, which, thank goodness. But if you've got like a tag team focus deck and you knock this out, it could knock you right back. It's scary. Shedinja is still a thing. So this could give up 0 prizes and knock you out. And it could win the prize trade against potentially even 1 prizers. 100 HP is not high, but it's high enough for stuff like you can't use, say, your tag team deck, you can't use like your Wrangler to attack into it and knock an Oko it, right? Attack is only 60 and can't retreat, so you might play enough energy that you could attack with it, but I think if you're building this deck, you're mostly just hoping it kills. Right, the can't retreat is nice. You can go stop something that doesn't want to be in the active and kind of make it hit into you. They don't have their switching cards, but yeah, it scares me. It scares me. It's not for me, but it terrifies me. Sigilyph strikes back. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon is damaged by opponent's attack, place 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Psychic damage does 30 plus 10 for each damage counter on the opponent's active. So it's a secondary hit attack. The Strike Back is a good ability. It's not a reason to play it by itself. We have better walls like Pokédoll. Place 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon is okay. It's not super high. If it was for a Twin Energy, I think I'd really like this. Since it's a Psychic colorless, like, it's definitely playable, don't get me wrong, but it's not as easy as I'd like. As I said, if this was a Twin Energy, I would really like this card as a secondary hitter. But we have secondary hitters that hit for Twin Energy. I mean, they don't have this ability, obviously, but I think it's... And I don't think they have the 30 base either. But, like, Zangoose, right, is the better secondary hitter than this. Larvitar, if you want to hit for fighting weakness. If you really want to hit for psychic weakness, you might be able to make this work, right? Counter gain, rainbows, whatever. But I'm not sure as it stands. It's one for the toolbox, but I think it's deep in the toolbox. Sandygast evolves into Palossand. Sand Burial, discard a card from the top card of your opponent's deck. If this Pokemon has Curse Shovel attached to it, discard 2 more. So for Twin, you can mill 3. I mean, it is discard, but mill's just the easier way to say it. You mill 3. That is pretty effective mill, to be honest, with the Curse Shovel. Do you really want in a mill deck to be playing this in a high count? I don't know, but does it find its way into mill deck? Potentially. Yeah, it's hard to say, because you're probably playing Curse Shovel and mill. Anyways, we'll talk about Curse Shovel later, but it if the Pokemon's hit, it mills as well. So maybe you put this in as your finisher rather than Mewtwo Macargo, since that has a little more ways to be played around. But I don't know. It's like, it wouldn't shock me to see a lot of play, and it wouldn't shock me to see it see no play. We'll have to see. Again, another one not for me. So, Hatterin evolves, Hatrim evolves, Hatterene. Mind Hat, once during your turn, you may have each player discard one card from their hand. Your opponent discards first. If either player has no cards, does not card. One Psychic, so very efficient. Place damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon equal to the number of Pokemon in your discard pile. So we can put Pokemon in the discard pile as well. It's interesting. Could be potentially, if you build it around it right, it could be a lot of damage counters you drop. Like potentially on the high end, like 20, but they're only on the active. If it was anywhere you wanted, this would be a lot more tempting as a stage 2. As it is, like, the ability is okay. Each player discards is not bad because you're more set up for it. But it's not really good hand disruption. And it's not really good attack. It's kind of an in-between. And again, I'm not super huge on cards that kind of do two things half well. But that might also be a personal thing. I could see it seeing play, but I don't think I will. Milcery evolves, Alcremie. Attach any number of basic energy cards from your hand to your Pokemon any way you like, but on the stage 1, and you have to have them in hand, it's not from deck. No. And the attack is no. It's cute, though. Indeedee, heal 30 from each of your Pokemon. The next time we get a Melodic that's ability is heal 20 from each. I mean, it could be a decent tech against spread decks, but that's about it. Yeah, I don't think so. And I don't know why he's sweeping the outside. Dreepy evolves. Drakloak evolves, but also search for Dreepy and put it on the bench isn't terrible. Since it's right on the bench, so we can become a Drakloak next turn. As you evolve that Drakloak into Dragapult the next turn, trying to keep this 90 HP alive during that, ziffy. But if you can, phenomenal. But Dragapult, Infiltrator. If this Pokemon would be damaged by an attack, flip a coin. If heads, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon. Okay, we got a Whimsicott ability, boys and girls. And everything else. So, what's the attack? 2 Psychic, Ghost Dive, 120. Put 3 damage counters on your opponent's benched Pokemon in any way you like. It's tempting. It's definitely interesting. Definitely could be good. As a stage 2, it's flippy, right? It's very flippy, and it's not a flip you can Wail or Glimwood Tangle, because there's a flip on opponent's turn. Spread 3 is good in any way you like, but I don't know if it's enough. 120 to the active isn't enough. Right, you're only hitting 240, so you're 2 KO in basic Vs against VMAXs. I don't know if you're going to be able to chain it. Like, I know you got Malamar for the second energy right now, at least, once Malamar rotates. I don't think it will see much success, but it's going to be one of those kind of cult decks like Whimsicott was. And I definitely think it could be good. I don't think it will be, though. Dragapult P, 1 second, 30 damage. Okay, it's a little bit of poke, I guess. Assault Jet, 60 plus, if switched to active, does 80 more, so 140 is okay. If it was 1 energy, yeah. We're definitely past the days where Gliscod was ruling the format in terms of damage with a similar type attack. So it's not bad. It's definitely usable as an attack. But something like Cinderace V that just for 3 energy, but obviously Welder helps get them on even easier. Just as 3 energy is better. But we do have VMAX here. Shred isn't affected by effects is always nice. So you can still hit Zamazenta, for example, that is protecting against VMAXs if you have to. Things like that. Giganto Phantom, 130 damage. Place 5 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way you like. Only 130, but you're spreading 5. And spread 5 is now, like I said, on spread 3 is probably not enough. Spread 5, we're starting to get into it's probably enough. And it is a 320. No, it is 2 attachments. We do have the Horror Energy to help this as well. We'll talk about Horror Energy in a bit, which could also help the other Dragapult. It's again another one. The second energy is, there's definitely ways to do it. It's not a colorless. You can't countergain it right now. Malamar, you can get it. You've got 320, so you probably can just get away with manually attaching if you do it really well and don't have any surprises. But if the opponent deck goes off early, you could definitely be in trouble. One bad turn and you're in trouble if you miss an attachment. I don't think it's for me, but it's definitely going to be good. It's another one of those. Galarian Farfetch evolves into Surfetch. Best thing about this is 180. Can't use Meteor Salt again as long as it's active. You're going to want to switch out anyways, or it's going to die. That's not a bad deal. 180 is good. Fighting Pokemon obviously get lots of boosts. Fighting double colorless is payable, even in one turn. Karate Belt if you're behind, and Twin Energy. You can definitely boost this a lot. It could be good. I'm hesitant. It's a stage 1, 3 energy. It could be good. It seems like it has the right tricks that it could make an impact. Whether it's the best fighting Pokemon to do this kind of thing with, I don't know. But that is power. If you build this deck right, it can be very good one prize deck for sure. Definitely something I would consider strongly. Nosepass evolves. Meditite evolves. Medicham. Yoga Kick, no. Psychic, 60 plus does 20 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active. The average is kind of 3. So we'll say 60 plus 20 times 3, so we've got 120. It's going to be done for triple XL energy, so it can be teched into anything that's using that. Let's say it's hitting 120. Pikarom goes down right away with weakness. It could definitely see play. If it was around earlier, I definitely think like the Zoroark deck could have used this to take out Pikaroms. Could still see play in kind of that kind of form. Tool in the toolkit. Hits the fighting weakness really well for a triple XL. So definitely potential, but I don't think it's ever going to be massive. But it can definitely hop in and out of format when it's needed. If anything else becomes really big with fighting weakness. So we do have like a couple good Vs in this, right? We said about Bolton, we said about Toxtricity, and the VMAX. It can hit those for weakness pretty good, so maybe. I don't know. It definitely has things to like, but I'm not positive. Now, we do also have a pretty good Meditite. Does 40, just 40. Can't use next turn, but 40 on a fighting that can boost that a lot on a basic. 1 energy is pretty solid. So, who knows? We'll see. Whiscash. Well, Barboach evolves. Whiscash, Submerge, long as on bench, no damage from attacks. That's good. Stop spread. Earthquake, 2 fighting. But we do a belt. 140 damage, does 20 to each of your opponents. Stop spread, does spread, which is interesting. It's not bad. 140, so you're 2-hit KOing, plus you're getting spread to help chip things down. Built in with maybe Roxy's could be good. I'm probably going to play with this at some point, but whether it's actually good, I don't think so. But it's a decent, non-holo rare to pull. Actually, it's an uncommon. That's a pretty good uncommon attacker. So budget-wise, not bad. Yamask evolves Runerigas for a twin. Grudge distribution, count the number of damage counters on this Runerigas. Put twice as many damage counters on your opponent's active. So if you have damage counters on you, you only have 100 HP, but you can do double to your opponent. So say you have 90, you're hitting 180 back. Too awkward for me. It could have some good combos that it has that appear. I don't think it can do quite enough damage because of its HP. If it had like the ability to buff padding, I'd feel better. I mean, you can Big Charm to get that up to doing 240. But getting that damage on itself is tough. I'm not a big fan, but who knows? It definitely has some times it could come around as a good attacker. Binnacle evolves. Barbarical. Rock Hurl, no. Hand Press. More cards in hand than your opponent. You can do 160. I think it's the same attack cost as Surfetch. Also a stage 1. Just use Surfetch. I think Surfetch is better, and personally. Roly-Poly evolves. Carkol evolves. Colossal. As I said before, it's awkward. It could be good. 130 itself for 4 energy is doable. It is energy acceleration, which is always potentially viable, right? It breaks a rule of the game. You may search your discard pile for 1 fighting and 1 fire and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Firefighting is not really a combo we see too much. It could be fine. It's from discard, which could be awkward. I mean, it's a stage 2. Like, it could. It's an energy acceleration, so you're always going to think about it. But I think it's going to end up more the Magnezone end of things rather than actually something viable in format, personally. Sandaconda, 30 attach fighting from discard to this Pokemon. Okay. 220, discard 2 energy. I think it's too hard to chain. 220 for 220 is okay, as I said, but it's only doing 220, but it is doing 220. I mean, also you do boost, obviously, but I don't think you boost to any other key numbers. Like, you're not getting tag teams with this, outside of the very weak ones. Even with all the boosts, because, I mean, the highest you can get, I suppose, Vitality Bands, plus Dojo behind on prizes, plus Diancie, you're getting 270, but, like, that's a lot to ask. I think you kind of need something like Colossal to help power this up too. So I think you're asking too much.